Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. You are tuned into the Vitamin D podcast. Welcome. Great day. Amazing day to you. And I'm your host, Dawn Dai. And on this podcast, it's all about you getting excited about your life so that you can live life on purpose and for a purpose. See, vitamin D came with the concept because it's a pun off my name. You know, my name is Dawn, right? And you get that vitamin D from the sun, right? So I'm here to shed light into your life. And I do that with inspirational conversations with celebrities and everyday people like you and me. Just covering insights, just another way to look at things. And you got to get this too. Vitamin D is for your mind, body, and soul. And in order for all of that to come play together, that means it's shedding the light. And when you shed the light, we're uncovering what's under the good and the bad, because in order to be our best selves, we have to see our best selves. I mean, you think about it. Taking consideration of fear. You fear what you do not see. Even fear itself is false evidence appearing real. It's all an illusion. But see, you know truth by the way it feels, right? You know truth because it's what you allow yourself to see. So we're cutting on the lights. Now, ever so often, I'll do something where I may sit down with somebody and have a good conversation, just uncovering different things that they're involved in and ways to inspire. Other times, I'm doing something with quick doses, and it's where I'm taking the lyrics of popular music and I intertwine into a motivational message. And then, ever so often, I come with a special treat. And this treat is all about hearing from you and giving advice to you. It's our vitamin D advice letter. So I have plenty of people coming in to write about opinions and thoughts and questions on relationships, on love, on dreams, their career. And I just shed some light from my perspective. And here's the thing. If you want to hit me out, go ahead and email me, VitaminD@DawnDaiSpeaks.com. Again, that's VitaminD@DawnDaiSpeaks.com. Okay? So we're going into some advice letters. So without further ado, it's time for your dose of vitamin D.
Get your vitamin D right here with me and get excited about your life.
Okay, so now let's go to the very first letter. Subject, explaining vision boards. Dear Dawn, I'm trying to find the best way to manifest what I want in life. I'm 31 and I live in Memphis. I really want to open a bookstore, but I'm feeling like it's out of my reach. All the little and big pieces of buying the property and setting up deals and contracts with publishers and all other aspects of starting a small business just feel overwhelming. I know you talked a few times about having a vision, but could you go into detail about manifesting and vision boards? I have been trying to get my head right to get the start on the dream, but I often feel unfocused. I've read some things about vision boards being a solution for that, and assuming you've had experiences with them, could you tell me your thoughts? Yes, I have a vision board right now. This me talking to you on this podcast right now, that's on the vision board. You know, when you talk about your dreams, right? Oftentimes, I think even the word dream is placed in a realm that you're not in right now, right? And in this realm, it's magic. It's what you create and what you make of it. I always say that whether it's your dreams or just communication with self, you can't negate the fact that there is a spiritual self and then there's your physical self. You can't exist without one another, at least in this realm. And understanding these dreams that are coming to you, this feeling that you have, this urge to be more, to do more, that's your spiritual self. But remember, this is all about teamwork. It's about relationship. So now you have to speak to your physical self. Now, yes, you may have the insight of knowing that this is the dream, this is the vision, this is what I want. But how do you speak to the carnal mind? The one that's used to eating and drinking and feeling, right? Well, you put the vision board out there because now what you feel inside, you need to put in front of you, kind of like so you can go after it. Now, we see it in different cases, right? You may see it, the dog races. I don't know if it's the greyhound, but they'll put like a carrot or a toy and you're going after it. And see, when we talk about purpose and we talk about dreams, you have to put something so that you can look forward to. Because then you get caught up looking behind you and you realize that even in life, the whole mode is to just keep moving forward. You just got to keep going. And when we look at the instance of life and understanding that the only time that you stop is when you die. So when you ask me, Dawn, is the vision board important? Absolutely, yes. It kind of works in the subconscious mind, right? You know, what you can see, you can believe. So what happens when you have all these ideas in your head? You need to create it because it's your story. And if you look for life in the realm right now to put the vision for you to go after it, will your dreams manifest? Well, I have to wonder, I have to question, because they're your dreams. So it isn't necessarily something that somebody else has done, because there's no other person like you. So now the question becomes is whether or not you're ready to have the conversation with your spiritual self and your physical self. I mean, you hear 2 minds are better than one, but 2 essences are better than one. Imagine the magic that you can create there. And don't overwhelm yourself. You know, oftentimes we think vision boards have to be a physical thing as far as it's tangible in my hand. You can also create it on your phone. It can be words. It can be pictures. It can be quotes. It can be colors. Whatever makes you feel alive. Whatever makes you feel that like I want to go after it. Right? And therefore it allows you to dream wide awake. So when you say that things get overwhelming, you may have heard it before. Inch by inch, life's a cinch. Yard by yard, life is hard. You just got to put one foot in front of the other. And just let it start by just putting a vision. And biblically speaking, write the vision and make it plain. Where else do you need to see it? The vision board, you got to manifest with your affirmations. And what happens is that when you put these vision boards out there, when you look at it, it's a sense to hold yourself accountable. Because you start to see it and you remember what it is that you want, and you need a consistent reminder of what it is that you want. So make the vision. Without the vision, the people will perish. So what is the vision? What do you want for your life? What do you see for yourself? Make sure you wake up every day and subconsciously you look at it. It's kind of like even a seed in the ground. You put water on it, it's going to grow. You got to fertilize your dreams. On this vision board, that is you planting your dreams. The only next step is to wait for your season. And remember, it's right on time. Okay? I'm completely for vision boards. Let's go. All right, let's get to the next letter. Subject, my partner wants to open our relationship. Dear Dawn, 34-year-old man and fan. Okay, thank you. I see you. From PA here. As someone who grew up being constantly bullied, I've always seen myself as not good enough. Eventually, I managed to meet someone who thought I was a good person and a good match, and she must have thought the same because we've been together for the last 6 years. Things have been good. We laugh, we argue occasionally. We have little inside jokes. It's been good. But my partner recently opened up to me that she wants to try being polyamorous. Now, knowing that my favorite person in the world wants multiple partners, I feel more crushed than ever. And those feelings of being not good enough are coming roaring back. I don't know what to do. I want to love my partner alone and for her to love me back the same way. I would usually try and be accepting of this sort of stuff, but I just can't this time. It's too much. I trust her with everything I have, but it's not about trust. It's about feelings and how I would prefer to show them. Am I wrong for not being accepting of this? No. You're not wrong for being in your truth. If this is what you want, this is what you want. Now, one thing that I have to say off the bat, I have to commend your partner and I commend your relationship to being open enough to share that. But aren't you grateful that she gave you the option? Rightfully and deservingly so. Now, there's another thing that I look at the flip of the coin. Whether or not she wanted to bring some other person in relationship, there's a sense on your end that there's a level of self-confidence. Like, where do you stand with yourself? And that's nothing that you have to rely on. Now, I'm reading in the letter and you said off the bat, almost as if you were saved, by some type of net. Like, I didn't think I was good enough because I was constantly put down and, she chose me. But it wasn't that choosing of knowing that it was a blessing. It was almost a choosing like, oh, nobody else wanted me. So then you got to ask yourself, how much do you value yourself? Because how you do anything is how you do everything. And I'm not sure of what the narrative of showing or saying with yourself is, because this was a very mature conversation. It wasn't anything that came behind the back. And in a relationship, there are things that are ebbs and flows. There are different wants and needs for each partner. Now, one partner should not go unheard, because in a relationship, the key thing that you want is communication. Just as every right that she wants to express with you that, hey, I'd like to explore multiple partners and pursue the polyamorous lifestyle, you have every right to say that that does not work for you. Now, where it's going to have to take to the mature part of the table is to have a conversation and express who you are. Now, the thing that makes me wonder, and I want you to keep top of mind, is that you said that you're used to being bullied. Now, when I think of a bully, I always think of somebody that doesn't have a voice. There's somebody that keeps quiet. They keep to themselves. And so, therefore, they're not heard. You have to be heard in this situation. Whether it's not so much to say, hey, you can't do this, but you need to express how you feel. And how you feel, it makes it uncomfortable because is it more so you're uncomfortable of feeling like she will go on to someone else? Or is the idea of your favorite person? You said a mixture of both, but I guess I got a little mixed up because the first thing you came into the letter stating is that you've been bullied and there's a time that you didn't feel like you were good enough. It's going to take a tremendous amount of confidence and self-assurance, one, to even explore this lifestyle and a type of security in your relationship. But two, it's also going to take for you to know who you are within yourself, because whether it's this relationship, it'll spill out into the next relationship. You got to understand the gift that you are for self, you know? And, I think in the relationship, oftentimes people have a means of changing. You said that you've been married or you guys have been together for the last 6 years. This has never came up. This has never been something that you talked about, you joked about, or did you choose not to hear it? Only you know that. But when you talk about being in a relationship, I think it's our due diligence to know our partner. Now, there are some things I think people will keep to themselves, but I think there's a level of when do you come with the communication, and don't break down the communication now. You are going to have to work on your self-confidence with yourself in general, because who you were when you were a little kid, that's not the 34-year-old man that you are today. And if it is, now it's your responsibility to do the work to change the narrative. Because what does that say to your partner that you feel like, oh, I'm a damsel in distress and so lucky? She should feel like she has a prize too. And just like a diamond, it doesn't apologize for shining. It just shines in all of its imperfections because there's value in it. And you have to see the value of yourself. And the value comes from your voice and expressing to your partner that this is something that you are uncomfortable with, and see what it goes from there. Now, we can sit here and try to play out every scenario, what could happen, what could be said. But what it takes right now is what you know right now, this is not what you want. And I think oftentimes when we're making decisions in life, we're trying to predict what's to come after. Sometimes the best decision is just knowing where you don't want to be, because it forces you to move. Keep moving forward. Make sure you continue to communicate. Okay? All right, let's go to the next letter. Subject, getting the thing done. Dear Dawn, I've been trying to write a book for about 10 years now, and I feel like I'm about to go crazy. It all started when I was 18. I got to college and decided that journalism was going to be my thing. So I really fell into love with writing. Turns out, though, that journalism wasn't my thing, but fiction was. Go figure. I really fell in love with the freedom to that, and I had in telling stories and the centrality that ideas I was interested in could take. But the thing about getting bitten by that sort of bug is when you don't immediately make it, you can start to feel like you failed immeasurably. So at like 20, I decided I wanted to write a novel. I started and got a bit of a ways in, but since that first year, it's been stop and start. That was 6 years ago. Since, I haven't been able to finish it. I keep feeling like a failure. And now, even though I'm financially okay, I managed to find a job as a grant writer after school. I feel just down in the dumps spiritually. So what I want to ask you, Dawn, is this. How do I hunker down and turn my vision into reality? I know I won't feel right until I get back to writing. I mean, even if I can't finish the book, if I could just develop a daily habit, I think this soul sickness I've had for a few years would start to get better. I'm not under the impression that things will get better right away, but if it could change a little, I would be so relieved. Okay, so I feel like you just answered your own question about what you want. So I guess what you want for me to just reiterate, okay, cool. You had this vision. It came to you 10 years ago. You've identified the fact that 10 years ago you were 18, and then you did like a start and stop. So then at 20, you were like, I'm going to really do this. And it still hasn't been executed. So then it comes down to how bad do you want it? You know, I said in the previous letter, inch by inch, life's a cinch. Yard by yard, life is hard. So again, what do you want? You've identified it. You know what it takes because you even said yourself, you said, okay, it's not something that's just a fad that just came once or twice. It's been plaguing you for years now, a decade. You're saying, hey, I can't put too much pressure on myself because of writing the book right now. So how about I just do it little by little, write the paragraph? But there was something that is so important, and I always try to identify that stood out to me. And it was the line in which you said is that I keep feeling like a failure. And now, even though I'm financially okay, hold on, let me go again. You said, I keep feeling like a failure. And now, even though I'm financially okay, I managed to find a job as a grant writer after school. Whew, I just feel down in the dumps spiritually. Can you see why? Because you've allowed your dream to be based and distracted on financially what you get from this job. Now, when you got a dream, you got to understand that it's to satisfy all your needs. Your dream is not something where you're going to be lacking. Your dream is to come from a yes and type of space where you receive it, and then it's in abundance, right? So when we have this safety net, and we're trying to be so careful, we realize we knock ourselves out of the realm where the magic happens, because now we're in this comfortable space. I mean, you just said it, okay, I'm financially okay. That doesn't mean that you should have to struggle financially for your dreams. But when you're in a position where that's a distraction, where's your focus? It boils down, what do you want? Do you feel like this is an extreme focus, or do you need to sit down and waste the time? How is it for you? Just as those say, if you're trying to make a habit or break a habit, a lot of people feel like they have to go all in and jump. Some people are good at doing it a little by little, but you've answered it for yourself. How long are you going to sit in this job and not go after your dream? And if you get frustrated, know that you're only getting frustrated with yourself. Why? Because here it goes here. You're telling yourself this is what you want. So your spiritual self is saying, yes, we're going to get this dream. We're going to write this novel, this book out here. You know, it may not have been, what did you say? Journalism. But now I know that I want to write this fiction. So now you got all these stories inside, including the story that you're telling yourself that you wanted, but it's actually, you don't want it because you're staying comfortable in your job. You don't want it because you're not spending time and just writing sentences just to get the paragraph down. You don't want it because you aren't holding yourself accountable. So what happens is this communication of what you're saying spiritually is not matching up what you're doing in the physical realm. So I have to ask you, what do you want? If you truly believe that you can create whatever you want out of life, which has been proven time and time again, when you hear that people in insurmountable circumstances have achieved and exceeded against all odds, why can't you? The impossible has been done before. And the impossible is only until it's possible. And you think about how many things are possible. So when do you step into the realm of knowing that you're possible? Do you receive what I'm saying? More importantly, do you understand where I'm coming from, what I'm saying? It's about you making the decision. And how long are you going to have that little child inside of you saying that you want to write and you're not writing? Why? Because you're allowing fear. You're allowing the idea of what's next to come to get in your way instead of just taking the next step. Can you just put one foot in front of the other? Can you just click one finger after the other? What do you want? Because if you're going to stay down this path, being a writer and writing your own novel, that's not what you want. Because you do what you want for what you need. And you should want your dreams as bad as you want to breathe. I've mentioned this story before. I first heard this story from Eric Thomas. He's from Detroit. E.T. the hip hop preacher. He talked about this young man, and he had this dream, and he wanted to be a billionaire. And so he met this guy. He said, hey, kid, do you want to make a lot of money? He said, yeah. He said, okay, meet me by the water. I'll tell you whatever you need to know by the beach. So the kid comes through. He's kind of waiting there. The guy is doing the stretch, doing his own thing, right? He got there at 6 a.m. because the guy said, be there on time, sharp. He's suited and booted, ready to go. So he's like, okay, are you going to teach me or show me how to become a millionaire or billionaire? Have everything you want out of life? And he says, yes, okay. So he said, come out to the water. So the young kid was like, wow, you know, you got me dressed out here to come out the water. Like, are we going to get this done? Like, what's up? And he's like, I'm going to show you, you know, just wait a second. So he's getting impatient. He's like, sir, like, at what point are you going to tell me how to achieve everything I want out of life, to get all the money, to get all the success? He immediately took the young man and he doused him under the water. The little boy jumped up. He's like, oh my gosh, you know, why would you do that? I mean, think about it. This guy almost tried to kill him. As soon as he got his breath, he doused him under there again, held him down there a little longer. He jumps up, trying to get his breath. And then the guy does it again. And this time he holds it down longer. At this point, the young boy is just moving around, really fighting for it until he comes up. And, you know, he had to compose himself because, you know, he almost got out of character. He looked at this old man like, yo, But the guy said that's the secret to being successful. Dawn, what does this mean? You got to want your dreams as bad as you want to breathe. There comes to a point that when everything around you is going to say that it's impossible, you got to find the fight within yourself. If you try to restrict yourself from oxygen, even if you are in a state of you wanted to take your life, if you try to restrict yourself from oxygen, do you know that your body will fight? That's what it means to go have your dreams or want your dreams as bad as you want to breathe. How bad do you want your dreams? You got to fight when there's no fight left so you can make whatever excuses you want, but you got to put yourself in a position. You got to put yourself in soil that allows you to grow. Are you rooted? Are you connected to what you want, or are you distracted? Are you rooted and connected with what you want, or are you in procrastination? Are you rooted and know what you want, or are you just lying to yourself? So do you really want to write the novel? You tell me. That's what I got for you. All right, let's go on to the next letter. Subject, recognizing your dream. Oh, I love that. We've been getting a lot of posts about, or letters about people and their dreams. That means a lot. Because vitamin D is a dream of mine. It's my vision. And to know that this exchange is happening right now, I'm just grateful that we're all on the same rhythm together of living our best life, living out the dreams, wide awake. All right, let's dive in. Dear Dawn, hey from Missouri. Hey, Dawn. I'm a 30-year-old woman living in St. Louis, and I have been doing pretty okay during the last year. My job let me work from home, and I mostly just hang out. I feel like everything is just in a holding pattern right now, and I'm worried that once life gets back up to speed it was charging at before, I won't be able to get going with a running start. I want to get myself together and actually achieve something outside of my comfortable but boring day job. I tried to pick up some hobbies that I could maybe make some money off of, but that didn't pan out. That's funny because I got really into making bread and pasta, thinking I was going to start a bakery or something. Haha. Okay. But nothing really sparked a fire in my belly the way I expect. And maybe that's the problem, that I expect it to be something big and overwhelming. I've never really had a strong sense of passion before, so it's hard to know if the feel is right. You seem like a very passionate person, so could you shine the light on how to know when something is your dream, for lack of for a better word, for those of us who may not have thought they could have a dream? And that was beautiful. Recognizing the dream. I like that. The best way that I can explain that when we talk about dreams is a dream is going to speak before you open your mouth. It's something that comes to you. It actually gives you life. The idea of it, even oftentimes when you're exercising it. A dream, you're going to notice, is going to actually feed yourself. You've heard it oftentimes be an instrument of peace, or even your own peace. I think when you're pursuing your dream, that is your peace. And I'm not saying that you're not going to spend countless hours of being up and doing all these things. You're just going to realize that you can get lost in it. And it feels good when you do it. Now, when you talk about okay, how do I find into it? But it sounded like you dived into something. You said, I got really into making bread and pasta, thinking I was going to start a bakery or something. So was the passion that you were just into pasta, or were you going after it because you want to start the bakery? I'll tell you, the main problem that I'm identifying is that you are comfortable. And what I realize is that when you're going after the dream, just like I said in the previous letter, it's everything that happens outside of your comfort zone. Stakes are higher. You have to look more, you're discerning more. But if you're in the midst of, normality, and you're just comfortable with just being where you are, why would you have any other passion to move forward? Why would you be ambitious to think outside of the box? Why would you want to even exist or even know to exist where the magic happens? Dreams are magical. That's why they call them dreams. It's a figment of your imagination. But if you're caught in a world in a box because you're comfortable, you know all four sides, all four walls, you know how it stands, how it sits, how it looks. It doesn't change. It's just that box. And you have borders, you have parameters in which you stand in that box. But a dream, if it's magical, it's everything that happens outside of that. And finding that, you just have to get out there and explore. You say, hey, I'm just hanging out. That's good. You get to observe and you get to see. But now it's time to do something that challenges you. After your day, Go out there and do something different. Go paint, go draw, go sing. Just explore. Life is meant for us to live. And I know, like you said, we all have to get into the house and stay in for a bit to really lock in because of all the craziness that's going on outside. But a lot of people, just as yourself, while not being able to go outside, we all have been forced to look inside what's in. So what do you want? Well, you can only know what you want by exploring. You better put on your Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego hat. Where is Waldo? And just get out there and just take a chance. Because you already know what this feels like. We already know this. Like, we keep living life to experience something different, something more. But if you already know this, and you know there's more to exist because that's the way time is, that's the way different circumstances, why not go after it? Now you can say, hey, Dawn, I just know what I like. But you know that this isn't enough. Because if it was enough, you wouldn't be writing me. So now I'm telling you, go out there and explore. Pick up the bakery thing. You didn't say that you didn't like it. You just said that you did a stop and start. And oftentimes, we can't expect it to look magical, but you got to realize that the magic is inside. It's the journey. Like my old barber, he would say, Louis T. Powell, he said, Dawn, the journey is the experience, and the experience is the journey. You'll never arrive until you die. In the meantime, we're all just becoming. So whether you're becoming a chef temporarily, whether you're becoming a singer, just become, just evolve, just keep going. We see it time and time again as we move forward. That oftentimes is that something from far distance, it can look so huge. It can look like a distraction, but as you approach and as you move forward, you start to realize or get a clear idea on what the picture is. Take a step forward to find your picture and put it together piece by piece. Okay? So the passion lies in doing exactly what you are doing. And that is just simply finding out what you can get lost in, finding out what gives you peace, because that's the gift. So you can present it to other people, then it turns out to be presented back to you. Remember, we're all in this energy exchange. Okay? Keep exploring. Go make some more pasta. In fact, I might email me again. I might reply with my address again. Send me some goodies. After COVID restrictions, of course. Okay? All right, let's move on to the next letter. Subject, theft in the family. Dear Dawn, what do you do when family steals from you? That's my question to you, Dawn. My sister took my favorite cookbook, and I know that girl don't cook. See, this is the problem that she has had for a while. She'll pilfer something quick during a family function or a party and then keep it later. I caught her doing this several times when we were growing up. I never told our parents, but I warned her that it would come back to bite her. But that was when we were girls. Anyway, I think she must have taken it when she was helping me move last week. I've been so busy getting things in order in my new place that I had been ordering out until a few days ago. I tore the place apart after I had put it together, looking for it. The only conclusion I could come up with is that she had taken it. So I'm wondering, should I confront her? I'm not one to start drama, but I would like my book back. And I also worry that she's still stealing things frivolously. Is it my place to tell her what to do? Should I just ask her to not steal from me? Should I tell our parents? It's time to say, should you act like an adult? And I mean, I'm not trying to be smart about it. I'm just saying real. As an adult, you would confront your sister and say, hey, what happened? Did you see this? But see, oftentimes how we do anything is how we do everything. And you were a child yourself as a child, or as she was picking up things frivolously as a child, but nobody reprimanded her or tell her not to. Do you understand what I'm saying? So she got in a situation where she got used to moving like that. So that becomes the norm. Now, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Okay, I said that right. Okay. So if we go along the lines that how somebody does anything is how you do everything, what made you feel that you're an exception, that your sister wouldn't steal from you? And by no means I'm trying to paint your sister out to be a bad person, but is there a cloud or a shield that you think that she wouldn't? Because your sister is a person just like anyone else. You understand what I'm saying? And the fact that she went in there and took your belongings, so you think it needs to be addressed. But more importantly, you're going to have to step up and confront your sister. And that's just to ask, is not to accuse. Now, it's unfortunate that sometimes our history, it follows us, but that's just the nature of the beast. And as a grown woman, if she's the one that helped you and you can't find it, 1 + 1 is 2. But doesn't mean that it's true. So should you confront her? Yes, just ask. And it's not about starting drama. It's just about, hey, if you saw it, but you can go ahead and live the life that you did before, and seeing her as a young child stealing things and not saying anything, not addressing to your parents. Well, she's going to end up locked up one day. It could be a bag. It could be a shirt this time. Then what? $1,000, $1 million. It could be somebody's credit. Who knows? But it does have to stop. Now, it's not for you to throw your body on the line, but to hold her accountable for who she is and what she's done. And oftentimes that's speaking up for yourself. So yes, confront her, but that confrontation is just an inquiry. Now, if you can't get through, perhaps this is something that you can have a conversation with your parents about. I mean, again, that is their child. They know her inside and out. And get to the bottom of it. But I don't think that this is something that you should brush up under the rug. Okay? All right, let's move on to the next letter. Subject, 2 exes want me. Do I want them? Dear Dawn, I recently had a run-in with an old ex, and it's got me a little shaken. See, I'm 30, and we go back a long way, 12 years, to my freshman year at college. She's a year older, so I was kind of smitten when she expressed interest in me. The love came fast and felt like it left faster, but that was after 4 years together, and the ups and downs I've come to understand come with a lot of relationships. Things were good, and she was my first love, but she wasn't really down with my choice of careers. See, I'm a jazz musician by trade, went to school for it and everything. She didn't think it was suitable or a stable job, and I just couldn't put the sax down. So we split, and eventually I found myself in situations with some other women. Now, years later, she's been hitting me with these bitter texts like, this could have been us, to pictures of couples and other mess. I can't lie that I still have some love for her, but I don't really know what's changed on her end. And to add on to that, in the last 6 years, I've made a connection with a woman who really knows me and loves me for who I am. We've been on and off since we met in 2015. I haven't really spent more than 5 months single prior to 2020, I think. Of course, I messed it up partially by continuing to be communication with my first ex after our third breakup. The new girl decided to take a job abroad. That was at the start of quarantine. We've had middling contact since then. And for the last year, I've been kind of keeping a low profile, not dating, trying to stay alive, make it work in LA as a cashier. It's been a struggle, but I feel good where I'm at, good with myself. Now she's drunk calling me, telling me how she's always loved me and asking to come out to visit her. I keep thinking that, yes, that sounds great. I love her. And the vacation would be nice, but I wonder, do I want to be in a relationship? And both of these incidents started around the same time last month. What's going on? Should I get back to the one of them, or should I just keep my head down and move forward with my life? In life, you got to know what you want, baby. Period. And one thing you said is that you don't know if this is what you want in a relationship. I saw on a TikTok video on social media. Somebody posted on Instagram. It was reposted from TikTok on Instagram. And somebody said, if you have to ever question whether somebody likes you, they don't. So you have to question whether or not you want to be in a relationship, you don't. Just thinking about the first ex, it reminds me of Erykah Badu and her track Bag Lady. You gonna miss your buzz, dragging all those bags like that. I guess nobody ever told you all you must hold on to is you. Now, you had a situation where it's bags. She wasn't in agreement with your dreams, your vision, right? And remember, like I said previously in the other letter, I said, you have to know what you want. Right? If it doesn't serve you, it doesn't deserve you. If you aren't getting fed from this relationship, why are you there? Now, you used your keen discernment. You said, I don't belong here. This is not for me. Why does it change in this situation of knowing what you want? If you're saying that you don't know that your relationship, perhaps stay away. And just like Erykah Badu, I see how the first ex, she wasn't for you. And when I say for you, probably literally in the sense, but even for your dreams. Who wants to feel like they can't be themselves with the most intimate person in their life? You should be sharing your dreams, exploring your dreams, but you have a situation where she's not for them. So what happens? You got into another relationship with a young lady. Well, it sounds like you're a guy who does like relationships, but it sounds like you're trying to find your footing. So you move on, you meet the young lady before she goes abroad, and you find out that your ex, remember that baggage that was behind you, was starting to interfere with this relationship. It's interesting that you have the capacity to move forward, but you consistently carry a lot of things with you. So when you say, okay, perhaps Dawn, I don't know if I want to be in a relationship. And should I just keep my head down? The answer is yes. You got to know what you want. Just as clear that you were able to tell the first ex that, yo, I want to be a musician. I want to pick up my sax and play at these jazz clubs. You got to be that specific with your life, because remember, how you do anything is how you do everything. So you may not be able to see it that clearly now when it comes to relationship and love, but just take the same scenario and put that in your dream. Are you willing to compromise your dream for a relationship? I think that's how you're going to know off the bat. So when you have to juggle, just talking about the first ex and whether or not you guys should be together, you got to say to yourself, hey, she's not supporting the identity of you. So how can that feel good? So you can look at all these pictures of these couples and say, oh, this could have been us. No, it couldn't have been. Because you're going to be at the jazz club. Is she going to be there to support you? Now you upset because now when you guys want to go out to eat, you got a stank look on your face because she ain't even supporting your dreams. The very thing is that you changed your life for, the very thing that you invested your time, your energy, your money for your dreams. And she's not there. So could that be us? Heck, no. You got to be for each other. Now you got the other young lady who actually does support. But now you have to ask yourself, are you available emotionally? Do you have the capacity to hold what she's offering? It's interesting because you just said, hey, Dawn, I don't know if I want to be in a relationship. Both of these instances happened at the same time. See, just as clear as your discernment was with your first ex about knowing what your dreams are, you need to have your discernment that clear where you talk about sharing your life with somebody, sharing that intimate moment with somebody, because all of that bleeds in every other area of your life. And what you just said is that you're unsure where you want to be. Well, as home is where the heart is, and the heart is a representation of love. Does that feel like home? Can you lay your head down there and feel comfortable? Does it make you change the identity of who you are, what you believe, and what you're going after? Those are the questions you have to ask yourself. And so you know the truth by the way it feels and where it directs you. And it sounds like you're not being directed in that location of knowing I want to be located. I want to put myself in a GPS to be in a relationship. Do you know what I'm saying? I kind of went left to go right, but you know what I'm saying? Is this your location? Is that what you want? It doesn't sound like, because you don't know. And you know the difference of knowing what you want. So I think you might ought to keep your head down, because you've been there, done that. You know what they have to offer. And if it doesn't satisfy you enough to go that way, please do not waste anybody's time. We are too grown for that. We are at a level in our life, we are not young kids anymore, that we need to play with emotions. If somebody's direct enough to tell you what they want, just as direct as you were to say what your dreams are, please offer the same courtesy and respect. Allow somebody to choose. Do not sign up for a position that you don't plan to show up to. Okay? So until you can say, I want to be in a relationship, stop with the foolishness, stop entertaining it, because you're clear on what they want. But the question is, what do you want? And any type of relationship, we actually have to show up for one another. They're showing up, but where are you? All right, let's go to the next letter. Oh, and this is the last letter. Subject was making progress. Then dad came back. Dear Dawn, I'm 28. I don't really have a lot to complain about, or at least I didn't until recently. 6 weeks ago, exactly, actually, when my dad came back into my life. A little background. My dad is the fly by the seat of your pants kind of guy. Him and my mom broke up not long after I was born, and he's been moving from company to company and city to city for the last 25 years. I rarely saw him or heard from him. Missed birthdays were a norm. It was hurtful, but I'm in therapy working on it. For a while in my early 20s, I was feeling so unacceptable that I had the hardest time even leaving the house. Now I'm enjoying life to the extent you can. And I'm working at a job I love. So on some level, I know that whatever pain I was caused, I came out okay. Sometimes I even think that I don't need to know my dad. And the thing is, he's still my dad, even though I low-key kind of hated him. I love him, and I want to have a positive relationship with him. So 6 weeks ago, he moves back to Oakland and starts living with my older sister. There are like 5-year age gap between us, so they have a lot closer relationship. She really wants to mend the rift in the family, and I'm just feeling kind of mixed of the idea. It's so awkward around him because every time I try to talk about the pain his absence caused, he tells me it really wasn't his fault. And now after having improved therapy and gotten my life on an upward trajectory, the prospect of having to engage in making me fear losing all of this progress I've made, how do I tell my sister I just can't? Or do I face my fear? I'm not sure what the fear is. Because if anything that I received that what you said was the fear is probably the confrontation of your dad because you're being vulnerable. Now, where I applaud you is that you're doing the work. What I have to tell you to cut the light bulb and to keep in mind is that he's not willing to do the work. So it's a sticky situation, but you're showing up to a table that your dad isn't sitting at. And this table is laying out of how you feel. And what you're looking for is to completely heal. You can't ignore the fact and say, I want no relationship with my father and say everything's okay, because if everything's okay, you wouldn't feel that missing piece. But you can't make somebody do anything, because it sounds like with the communication is that he's receiving, it's not my fault. And it's like, I'm not sure this dialogue is the sense of blame, but you're expressing how it made you feel. And I know myself, I always say when I'm in a disagreement with somebody that I'm not trying to prove who's right or wrong, but I think it's about how it made someone feel. And when you love someone, when you care about somebody, you care about why they feel the way they feel. Because we all just want to be heard. You heard me say it before, whether it's the spiritual self trying to connect with the physical self, to try to manifest dreams, whether it's a relationship with a partner, whether it's a daughter and a father. You're asking to be heard. Because at some point, this little girl whose father was out there living his life, going after the next thing, perhaps didn't get a chance to see the little girl. And so as an adult, you're like, oh, my life is booming, I'm popping, whoop, whoop. You forgot that that little girl is still hurt. Now, to sit there and try to negate the fact that if she doesn't need her father, well, that's not fair. But it also isn't fair to the adult to know yourself is that you're showing up and your father isn't showing up in the way that you can. Now, the next thing I would say, because you have been going to therapy, perhaps try to invite him to one of your sessions. Open up the conversation. Because oftentimes I feel like we can see the message and where it's coming from, and immediately it's a block. And sometimes just as though if we were trying to get to one location or another, we use a car. Whether we're cooking dishes, we use utensils. We have these tools in place so that we can effectively do what it is that we need to do. And one of the tools that you have is that you have a therapist. So use your tools appropriately. Open the invitation to have your dad there and truly express that this is not a blame, but I want to let you know how I feel. Because no matter what, how you're trying to say, I'm just going to go away from it and not, address my father, that's not true. Because it still exists, because it's how it makes you feel. And understanding that it's going to bleed out in other areas of your life. But at the same time, you got to love on yourself to know that what doesn't serve you doesn't deserve you. And if it puts you in the same situation every time that you're around your father, that you're reminded of what can take you back into depression, that what can take you backwards, then you have to save yourself. And that doesn't mean cutting off. It just depends on how I say. You got to treat certain people like you got a white outfit on. You can't let them get too close. And sometimes that closeness that you're thinking about, what I'm referring to as physically, is that you can't emotionally expose yourself to those things. That's just a maturity level. You can't control that, but you have to understand what you're dealing with. You have to truly see what you're dealing with. And there's a trickery, because we get to this point in our life where when we're a kid, we look at our parents and people that are older than us as though they have the answer to everything. And it isn't until we get to an adult that we realize that, they were just trying to figure out the same thing. But what's going to happen right now is that this whole awkward feeling that you're feeling around him is caused because you guys can't communicate. So that's going to cause friction. And then it's going to cause a sense of blame of saying, oh, it's not my fault, it is your fault, versus like, can you hear me? I'm speaking. So don't stop your shine, but try another approach. Try to go ahead and see if he's open. Welcome him to come to therapy just so that you can be heard, and let him know that you're just trying to be heard and to be understood, because sometimes that goes along further than where the blame is. And hopefully with your dad and hopefully with you, you guys realize that that relationship is important. Because if it's not a situation right now where he's badgering you and saying, no, 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 let's mend about what the past was. Because guess what? He ain't going to be here forever. You're not going to be here forever. And I'm telling you from a person who both of my parents are deceased. I would love to have a conversation. I would love to figure out how to work it out. But I do understand that you still deserve to be heard, because that little girl is hurt. So my suggestion will be the next step, invite him over to therapy and then just see where it goes from there. But do not sacrifice yourself. You come too far. to go backwards. All right? And yep, those are all the letters that we have today. Thank you. Shout out to each and every one of you guys that wrote the letter. Thank you. I receive you, and I appreciate you for being bold enough to want to be better. And not because I'm just saying it, but to put yourself on the line to know that some things may be off balance. And when I say off balance, it just doesn't feel right. And you know, that's one thing that I talk about with the vitamin D, is to talk about your life bank account. And when you know that you are your greatest asset, you understand that just like an account, it's all about deposits and withdrawals. What are you adding to your life and what are you deducting? And the thing is, it's going to be a constant ebb and flow, but it's just about balance. And when you can entrust yourself and cut on the lights on and say, hey, I don't have it all figured out. Hey, I'm trying to still figure out everything. You realize that how much you can grow from that. You feel what I'm saying? So thank you. I appreciate it. And if you heard something and you're like, Dawn, I want to get your thoughts too, you can email me. VitaminD@DawnDaiSpeaks.com. And you can just put in the subject advice letter. And either myself or Jeremiah or Ian, we will get to it. And we'll make sure that we answer these questions because we like to hear from you. Because remember, vitamin D is all about being better so that you can live life on purpose and for purpose. All right? So again, the email is VitaminD@DawnDaiSpeaks.com. Now, outside of the podcast, if you want some more vitamin D in your life, one, you need to check me out on Saturdays on the Steve Harvey Morning Show for my What's Happening segment. Two, you need to follow me on social media at Dawn Dai Speaks on all social media and get some extra vitamin D in your life. So I'm going to talk to you next time. We got a lot of great things coming up with the podcast, Vitamin D Live. Like, we're cooking up a lot of magic. We're making dreams come true. Okay? So until next time, I'll talk to you, and I want you to always remember that you are your greatest asset.